What's up, guys? So this video is going to be on why are we able to print so much money now, and why I think PPP for small businesses might be bad. So let's go over this real quick. So a lot of us sitting back, like I mean, I am. I'm always, you guys see my content, right? I'm always like, oh, another 2 trillion, another 3 trillion, like whatever. It's just money, right? I even posted that Buffett clip of him saying if no other society figured out you know that, or why did it take us 2 years pretty much to figure out that, oh, we could just print money, nothing, no consequence will happen, like it was kind of like a backhanded joke and way thinking. He's thinking like, we're going to eventually have to pay for this, and I agree with him. Essentially we are. So let's take a quick crash course, like history lesson on money, and I'll try to catch you up as much as I can. So a lot of people don't know this, but our currency used to be backed by gold as early as the turn of the century. So that really limited, and this is my argument against Bitcoin. This is why, I don't think Bitcoin could ever really fully take over, because you lose a lot of geopolitical power behind this. So basically, the Bretton Woods system, it was, depending on how much debt you had and how much money you printed, you had to have a certain amount of gold. It was the underlying asset for that money. So you used to be able to go to the bank and say, here's $100. I want, this $100 converted into gold for me. Now, it was a good check and balance, right? Because it wouldn't allow you to print more than what you could afford, and the Bretton Woods, you always had to change gold back and forth with countries. And it didn't really allow for rapid growth, and it protected people, and it protected the purchasing power, right, of money, because that's ultimately what inflation is you want to be able to protect your purchasing power, to be able to buy goods and services and not have it run rampant. So in the Nixon administration, we nixed it, pun, but we said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And at the time, America was the world power of the world, like we were the big dogs in town. So we made our dollar the reserve currency of the world. And we pretty much said everything could be good in dollars. Like, you want to buy oil, you convert your currency and peg it to the dollar, and then you can buy whatever the heck you want. And obviously we've been able to get a lot of clout with that, huh? What a deal, right? We could print whatever we want, and people have to use their currency to buy our dollar, right? And as you can see, I got to do a video about China eventually, but these geopolitical games that we're playing and the strength of America is based off that dollar. Like I'm sure you guys seen that Bloomberg article that came out where, we put sanctions on like Iran and stuff, right? Because we don't like what they're doing. We say, hey guys, don't build nukes, plain and simple. And our financial system is so strong that when we freaking, give you the Heisman on it, you're going to struggle. And we lock you out of it. So Iran sent over, cargo planes to pick up gold bars from Venezuela to help them sell oil and stuff, So like, that's the power of America right now. Probably why we don't ever have to really go to war that much, is we'll just ice you out. And if we lose the trust of that, and this is what I'm scared of, if we lose the trust of the world, of America being that back reserve, then whatever country comes in place and says, hey, yeah, we'll handle that right there for you, bud. Now they're going to end up having the control and the power and the might, and they're going to be able to flex on us, right? And I think that might even lead to wars, because we're going to end up having to fight for like who's the big dog in sense, right? So that's my ultimate scare. That's why I really care about the debt. No more than just that. It's just like, I don't want to see China become the world reserve currency, in Asia. I don't agree with their policies, and they're going to have more control. And, they're already playing their games, like, the One Belt Road Initiative, where they're going in and they're building stuff for people, on their debt, and making them, be a part of their currency. And then they're buying up these UN seats so then they can move and do whatever they want, and they could flex on that side of the world. And they don't need to have the whole world. If they could just get all of Southeast Asia, like Malaysia and the Philippines and all those areas, just to use them as their backup currency, then we lose clout in that area. Now we're going to have to send and start playing war games and start, it just turns into a big old headache thing. And this is why I don't think Bitcoin could ever really prevail, because no government is going to want to give up control. Because if Bitcoin was in session right now and this pandemic happened, how could we facilitate this money to people without making the government, end up being broke and stuff? It just becomes really complex. Now, back to what it is. I'm sorry I took you down like a little rabbit hole right there. But back to what it is. So when we took ourselves off that gold currency, where we said, hey, $1 is not worth so many ounces of gold anymore, it really gave us the free range to be create a financially engineered machine, which was like credit. We were able to spend more, we were able to build more, we were able to do more. We don't really owe anyone anything. But the one key fact is we have to continue to be productive. Now, in the mystery of capital, like they talk about, like that's the whole key, is to be able to unlock capital and be able to spend it in a proper way to make it productive, right? So if you think about America, you think about our debt versus our GDP. As long as we could keep those numbers pretty far apart, right? Like our debt could grow every year, but if our GDP is growing a lot more, it shouldn't really theoretically help, like not help, but affect us. We'll be fine. The truth is, you're going to need debt. We're always going to need debt to continue to grow, because it's what is going to allow us to consume. At the same time, it's what's going to allow us to build, right? Because not everybody has $10 million sitting around to build a power plant, or to build a factory, or to build something. You got to need credit. You're going to need a bunch of pools of money, and that has to be built out to make this good and service, to be able to give it and sell it to consumers, right? So as long as we're using productive debt in this country, we're going to be fine. The problem is when we start doing too many programs and our debt does not become productive, and our and our gross domestic product goes down, that's when we could be in a huge world of hurt. And, like if we pay off everyone's student loans right at once, or we end up giving everybody a $2,000 check for the rest of their life just to live, those numbers don't really become productive. You're like, well, aren't those people spending money in society? Yeah, they are, but you're not creating any more products. You're not creating any more services. That there is a limit and a cap to that. So basically, when we removed ourselves from that, that's why we're allowed to print money like crazy. It's because our Federal Reserve has the right to continue to print money. Our Treasury Department can borrow, from the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve can make money market moves in our stock market that affect us all the way down to people like me and you, because what they do affects what our 30-year fixed mortgages are going to be, or what it's going to be. But it's the fact that we removed tying our currency to like gold or a fixed asset, and where our currency is really worth nothing. It's just a piece of paper that says, hey, don't worry, America's got your back. And that allows us to move things around and to be flexible. And like I said, debt will, in my personal opinion, and economically, debt is not bad if you use debt to good things, to productive things that make your country grow, not to things that are out of waste, And so that's one end of it. Now, I mentioned, earlier in the video, why I think PPP might be bad, and I heard this a few times from a couple of other podcasts that I listened to, and also, honestly, I was forming my own opinion. I try to put myself in the shoes of a smaller business owner. Like my parents, they own and run their own business, but thank God, like they finally, over the course of 15 years, they've had their stuff paid off, so they're really in a little bit better position. Because they don't have like a payment coming up, right? And then they work themselves. They still work like 12 hours a day, you know what I mean? And they don't really have to have employees. But then I started thinking about majority of Americans, they're not in that position, and some of them are, but like restaurants. But it's physically impossible for you to work at a restaurant all yourself, or even a bar all yourself. You have to hire employees. You have to have expenses that come up, and you have to have things that get fixed. So PPP. So the government is saying, and this is the thing, they give you money and they put all these stipulations and dangle it over your head. And this is why I made that RET and Mortgage Cancellation Act of 2020, where I think it's ridiculous, because nothing in this world will ever be free, guys. Don't ever forget that, right? We know that. We're old enough to know that, right? Everything comes at a cost. So the PPP said, hey, yeah, we're going to give you this money, and but you got to use this much of this money just to pay your employees. And then, that may or may not be forgiven depending on what the assets might be. And then you have this much money to pay stuff and do stuff. So if I'm a business owner, right, I take on this money, I take on this cash, and I say, okay, let's just say hypothetical numbers. I take on $100,000, I pay $70,000 to employees, I have $30,000 to run stuff, right? And I have, $100,000 loan in a sense. $70,000 might be forgiven, but I still owe that 30. I might have used that 30 to pay rent, to buy more products, because my meat expired if I own something, or the beer expired, or if I own like a small boutique stuff, whatever it is, So now you're gonna put that money over my head, right? And you're gonna turn around and say, okay, the economy's gonna open up. Let's say June. Let's say July. Everything opens back up, but all of a sudden my business has declined 25%, right? And if I didn't maintain a certain amount of people, at a certain amount of time, I'm gonna owe that money, back. Or even if you didn't owe that money back, I still owe this $30,000. And now that person's still going to have to be unemployed, because I don't have the money to keep this person on as a business. You got to make those decisions. And now if my sales are still half or 40%, and my profit out of that 40% is much lower than it was at 100%, right? So if you had $100,000 in sales you were making, and now you're only making $40,000 in sales and only at 20%, you're making 8 grand versus when you were making, oh wait, that's horrible math right there, right? 40%. Oh, $10,000 of 100. Sorry, messed up my math. $3,200 of 40. So you're only making 40 grand in sales. You're making like 8% or whatever, or 10%, whatever. Your overall income is going to be a lot less, but you still have the cost and burden of running the business. But now you still have this money you have to give back to the PPP. Even if it's low interest, it's still a burden on you. So what does this hemorrhage and hamper you to do? Okay, well then once you start crawling yourself back out of it, you're going to be reluctant to expand that business. Your sole goal and purpose is going to be like, I got to get this loan paid the hell off first. Then you could get back to business. But that is going to be its cycle in itself. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take you a year or 2 years before business even gets back to normal. And then you slowly start bringing your employees back as the business grows. You're working 10 times as hard, and you got this PPP loan, that the portion of it that you have to pay back, and it's hemorrhaging you from being able to grow and hire more, right? So as a business owner, maybe it would have been better just to let the people go and just pay out of your pocket, because when you open up, you don't owe anyone, you can start from scratch. Now, this is all based on the fact that, and not everything is going to get back to 100% right away, and there's going to be struggle and pain. So that's why I think the PPP thing, the way we presented the money maybe wasn't the best. If you believed in the American people and you trusted American people with $1,200 every single, everyone got the check or whatever, a certain thing, why wouldn't you trust the business owner that's been paying their taxes? The person who's been a staple in that local community, who's been operational, who's trying to employ people. It makes no sense to me. You're going to trust some average Joe here, put no restrictions on him, like, here's $1,200. Hey, you don't have to pay your rent. This is just for food, and do whatever you want, or do whatever it is. But then on this side, you're going to say, hey, you're a business owner. Here's a stipulation. You're going to have to force to give this money to that employee. And this 30%, you're going to owe us that back. Well, dude, the government is your partner in a sense, right? Because the government is still making 20-something% on taxes of your business, right? So don't you think the government would think, okay, if this guy fails, we fail, because if he shuts down business, there's going to be less taxes that we get. So how about we try to help this person the most? And the business owner, for the most time, yeah, maybe some of them might just say, screw it, take the money and run. But a lot of business owners have put their blood, sweat, tears, and hard work into their freaking business. The last thing they're going to want to do is to get a one-day payday, quick payday off, and then say, I'm out of here, I'm going to close up. No, they're going to be like, thank God I got this. Thank God I got the help. Okay, it's going to make me struggle with these next 6 months or whatever, but I got the help coming in. I'll be able to manage it. I'm going to be responsible with it. And then I'll be able to grow back out of it quicker, and it's going to help the country more, because then taxes could be started getting collected more. But now you kind of like tied them down. You put this burden over this head, this cloud that says, okay, don't grow until you pay this portion of it back. I'm hoping that we start seeing this as a problem, and I'm hoping that, politically, left and right, we both say, because this was both of them that made this deal. None of them really stood their ground or whatever, and that's a different issue. But I'm hoping they say, okay, you know what, we're just going to forgive all those small business loans for people that took it, and let you start off and do things, and let's get this country kicked back into gear and going. So these are the two thoughts that I've been having, and as I've seen it unfold, and I've talked to people personally, and some people said, dude, I'm not going to take the money. Like, it makes no sense for me. It's better off if I lay this person off right now and then bring them back if I can, and we'll figure that out then, because we don't even know what it's going to be like when I come back. So why am I going to guarantee to take this loan and be like, shit, now I got to owe it to somebody? And I got some friends that are not in a position to do that. They had to take it. The government forced them to take it, in a sense, because if they didn't take it, they weren't going to be able to have enough money to stay alive. So like, something is better than nothing, But if you were truly caring about the American people, you truly cared about small business, like all the politicians say they do, then why the hell would you put this this act in there without saying, hey, this could be forgivable, or whatever? Why wouldn't you take a little bit more time? And I really freaking pray and hope to God, I really, really do, the politicians stand up and say, okay, this is going to be a problem. Let's try to figure out a way to fix this. Let's figure out a way we can make this thing 100%, forgivable in circumstances, because having to pay it back or having these rules and these stipulations, you're going to crush these guys even more than slowing it down and locking everything up. Then again, this is my 2 cents, guys. I could be completely wrong about this, and I'll admit to it if I am, but this is just what I'm hearing, and this is what I've been reading, and this is how I feel about it. So I hope you learned something from this video. Hey, if you liked the video, share it with one person, help me grow the account. Appreciate your time.